Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here once again with some more Aztecs. This is basically part two of this, of us doing Aztecs. If this is your first time watching me, I definitely suggest to do the first one. In the previous episode gives you the kind of the rise of the Aztecs and kind of what all they're all about, kind of deal. And now we're doing the arrival of Cortes and the Conquistadors. I know I said that wrong. Uh, but yeah, I guess the Spanish are arriving. And if there's anything I've found out from doing, the Mayans and the Incas, is that Spanish never bring good news. I didn't realize how much the Spanish, uh, like, influence or just the power of really, Spain. They're what, like, how much they had a play in South America, North America kind of thing. So this is definitely very interesting. Like they're like basically the first ones to kind of explore, not explore, but the first, I guess, Europeans to kind of, I guess, kind of come over to South America, North America, or whatnot, and really have an impact. They're, I guess, they're kind of the first ones that really have a big impact. So obviously this ain't gonna bring good news because Incas bad news, the Mayans bad news. So I have a feeling the same thing is basically gonna happen to the Aztecs here. Uh, I mean, I guess you trade and all that stuff, and like you don't know how things are in Europe. You're like an Aztec or a Mayan. Uh, you don't know what to expect. You don't know the history of them, so you don't really know that they're kind of there to kind of conquer and take over. They might be just there to be nice and trade, and that's kind of it. But then and then ends up you getting ends up being too late, and they end up getting taken over. But I guess then again, they had the Spaniards did have better armor and all that stuff, but they're outnumbered still, right? So I'm definitely gonna see kind of how this starts, and how I guess the Aztecs kind of, I don't know, deal with this situation, because I I know there's Cortez and the Conquistadors. I've heard those names before, but I really don't really know anything about them. Apparently they're from Spain, right? So, anyways, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button below. I'd really appreciate it. And we'll jump into this. Dun, dun, dun. 3, 2, 1.
The conquest of Mexico was the fatal result of the meeting of two worlds. The Spanish conquest was shaped not only by military matters, but also by language, diplomacy, and the laws of Spain and the Triple Alliance. In this video, we will look at how Hernan Cortes started the conquest of Mexico. Moctezuma had been Tlatoani.
Okay, this is when I guess, like, my history is horrible. This is basically how, I guess, this is the start of Spain taking over, I guess, Mexico, right? So, okay. Kind of starting with the Aztecs here. Dun, dun.
Of Mexico. Moctezuma had been Tlatoani of the Aztec Empire since 1502. Under his rule, the empire had reached never-before-seen heights, and its borders reached their greatest extent. His people were made rich by the taxes and tribute flowing in from across the empire. When reports began to slowly trickle in of strange encounters on the coast with pale-skinned men, they seemed innocuous. Moctezuma's capital was already filled with foreigners, and the air at the great market of Tlatelolco buzzed with a cacophony of different languages. Meanwhile, in Cuba, events were ramping up.
Okay, so they're used to outsiders and that coming in, so I guess there's another group of outsiders coming in kind of thing. I guess that's they're really not much thought into it, I guess, but
After two disastrous expeditions, Governor Diego Velázquez was planning a third, hoping that riches could be found on the nearby landmass. Hernando Cortes was appointed the caudillo of the upcoming expedition and tasked with exploration and modest trade. However, soon Velázquez lost his trust in Cortes and another caudillo was appointed. Soon this captain was murdered, while
What?
Cortes hastily left the island for the Yucatan on the 18th of February, 1519. He had 530 European soldiers, among them 30 crossbowmen, 2 arquebusmen, and 2 conquistadors, and also a few hundred Cuban natives and African slaves.
Okay.
Most importantly, 16 horses were also taken, along with war dogs, usually Irish wolfhounds and mastiffs.
So I wonder, like the dogs and mastiffs, they're giant dogs. You know that. How are those dogs? Familiar with the area? With the Mayan and Aztec area, or would they be kind of looked at as, oh my God, what is this new animal kind of thing? Just curious with that. But we all know that horses were. I guess I don't know because Incas were down there. Incas and Mayans didn't really have horses, so bringing horses, so it's definitely going to be like, oh my God, horses power, just something new and awe or maybe intimidating. So yeah, I'm definitely curious about the dogs kind of thing. But the ringing horses, so definitely, if you're not, as long as you're not walking into like a giant like army, then you're gonna be a pretty intimidating force to be reckoned with.
Cortes also had several cannons.
Yeah.
Cortes won his first victory in Maya territory, but it was linguistic in nature, as he discovered a castaway Spanish priest, Jerónimo de Aguilar, who had learned one of the Maya languages. After moving on from Cozumel and landing at Potonchan, Cortes defeated the local Maya in a battle, and he was given some women by them. One of them spoke both Maya and the Mexica language.
Wow.
Dubbed La Malinche, she translated Mexica into Maya, which was translated by Jerónimo de Aguilar into Spanish. Many things were lost in translation, but for the first time diplomacy between the natives and Spaniards was possible.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of like those the old game as a kid, telephone, where you kind of like say a message and the message goes down the line. Uh, it kind of gets changed along the way, and by the time it actually reaches the last person, it could be a totally different message. So I'm sure, maybe not to that degree here, but I'm sure a lot of those messages, definitely got misinterpreted, kind of thing, and maybe caused some issues, or maybe not. Maybe it actually helped. I don't know, but interesting.
Language would become just as important as horse or cannon in this conflict.
Okay.
With translators by his side and tales of a gold-rich empire further north, Cortes moved further up the coast and landed in modern-day Veracruz. Over the next few days, Moctezuma's diplomats arrived. Golden gifts were poured upon the conquistadors, sleeping quarters were built, and servants were made available for them.
Wow.
As both of these representatives of two great empires mingled and gawked at each other on the beach, one of the most dangerous questions in history was asked. Cortes said to the Mexica ambassador, "Does Moctezuma possess much gold?" The response was, yes. Moctezuma was in the House of Serpents, a part of...
Oh man. Yeah, once they said that is over, like, okay, we're gonna stop here and we're probably gonna take whatever we want from you guys, man. If he says no, they might still stick around, maybe think he's lying, but then again they might just keep going up north for richer pastures. So wow. The biggest question is for sure.
Yes. Moctezuma was in the House of Serpents, a part of his zoo, when the messengers arrived. These were the same men reported over the years. They rode bizarre-looking deer and had sticks that created lightning, along with beasts that launched rocks from their bellies that could destroy hillsides. Moctezuma, the all-powerful god-emperor, who was famously decisive.
Yeah, I guess because back then, like, there was no internet, and so you see this brand new thing. This is a beast. You don't know what that can is. You don't know where it came from, how it was made. For all you know, it just could be alive, and very intimidating stuff. And then deer, you've never seen a horse before, so the best description you can have is something that was similar thing of deer, large deer. So, man, they must have thought they came from a different planet, kind of thing. That's so cool. I love that kind of thing when you have different cultures that know nothing about each other kind of collide. Is the reaction of the people is very cool.
Moctezuma, the all-powerful god emperor, who was famously decisive, was unsure of how to proceed. Should he kill these foreigners immediately?
Yes.
This would violate all Mexica diplomatic customs. Could he use them for his own gain then? What exactly were their motives, and could they threaten the stability of his empire? The emperor's brother, Cuitlahuac, along with his cousin, Cuauhtémoc, continuously pushed the idea that these were raiders who shouldn't be trusted. Cuitlahuac advised Moctezuma not to allow into your house someone who will put you out of it.
True.
Meanwhile, Cortes was discussing Moctezuma with the local Totonac chief, who informed the conquistadors that his people had to pay yearly tribute to the Mexica. This chief informed Cortes of others that disliked Moctezuma, lords who felt passed over for rulership in Texcoco, vassals unhappily paying tribute, and especially the Tlaxcala, who would all join his side if he chose to march on Tenochtitlan. This promise changed everything for Cortes. Until now, his highest goal would have been to win some land and to extract as much gold as possible. Now the opportunity to take an empire for himself was within reach. However, Cortes had...
Yeah, I mean, all these tribes are probably like, think, oh, we use these guys to help us kind of gain, but they don't really realize the domino effect that's probably going to happen. And Spain's going to use all this knowledge to their advantage, and kind of turn everyone against each other, I'm kind of assuming, I don't know. But it kind of seems like the direction they're pointing at here.
To take an empire for himself was within reach. However, Cortes had another issue to resolve. Since his departure from Cuba, he had been acting illegally. Not only had he left after being replaced, his orders to explore and trade had obviously been completed at this point. In order to circumnavigate the illegality of his actions, Cortes and his men founded a town, Villarica de la Vera Cruz. A town council was quickly appointed, and Cortes presented himself before them. It was decided that Cortes's mission had been completed, and he stepped down as caudillo. Immediately, the council nominated Cortes as captain of His Majesty's armies until instructions would state otherwise.
Okay.
This was an obvious misuse of the law, but if Cortes could conquer Mexico quickly, then it would surely be accepted by the king. With his translators and native allies, Cortes set out towards Tenochtitlan. The expedition soon entered Tlaxcala territory. The first encounters were violent. Constantly harassed by Tlaxcala and Otomi warriors, the conquistadors suffered their worst losses up until then. A number of invaluable horses were killed, and many Spaniards were wounded. They were overwhelmed by the Tlaxcala numbers, but these numbers also allowed the horses and cannon to smash through the tightly packed armies, and thousands were killed. However, the Spaniards suffered some casualties in each battle, and that was untenable for the conquistadors.
Yeah, because you don't have a pool of people to pull from if you lose people. So the people they have are very valuable, especially the horses, because they're obviously going to be used to carry, food and whatnot. That's why the Mayans and Aztecs can't really do far off, raids or whatnot, because they just don't have the animal power to kind of go those distances that can carry that stuff for them. And they do, so they have that advantage. But if you lose those horses, you lose that advantage. So, yeah, men and horses, man, that's a big, big luxury to have. And you can't afford to lose too many.
Casualties in each battle, and that was untenable for the conquistadors. They couldn't defeat the Tlaxcala outright, and couldn't continue taking small numbers of casualties.
Exactly.
The Tlaxcala had been in a perpetual state of war with the Empire, and soon concluded that these powerful foreigners were more useful to them alive than dead. No one had more motive to topple the Aztec Empire. On the 20th...
Hey, babe.
Okay, only 3
Can you
seconds.
come in here? I need you to check something
No
out.
problem.
3rd of September 1519, Cortes entered Tlaxcala city, and an alliance was secured. Cortes now set off towards Tenochtitlan with an army that was less than 5% Spanish. While Cortes moved his massive multi-ethnic army through Tlaxcala territory.
Yeah, man, he just got the people that he needed, so wow, a lot more. Yeah, I guess these tribes here are trying to use these, foreigners to their advantage. Probably just not knowing that at the end of all this, it's not going to help him in the end.
While Cortes moved his massive multi-ethnic army through Tlaxcala territory, Moctezuma's emissaries continued to visit him, bringing gifts and warning him that the Tlaxcala could not be trusted. Cortes, ignoring that, continued to march towards the Mexica-allied city of Cholula, home to the largest pyramid structure on Earth and an extremely important pilgrimage site in the Mesoamerican world.
Wow.
The lords of Cholula welcomed them. However, the Spaniards suspected a conspiracy planned either by the lords of Cholula or Moctezuma. Cortes asked them to meet him at the Temple of Quetzalcoatl. They poured into the courtyard, after which the doors were closed by the conquistadors. Cortes demanded to know why the lords had planned to kill him and his men, and decreed that by the laws of Spain, treason such as this must be punished. An arquebus was fired as a signal, and the conquistadors began to cut down the lords. The killing continued in the streets. By the end of the 2-day sacking, the city was in flames, and 3,000 lay dead. Prisoners were sent off to Tlaxcala for sacrifice, and Cortes and his army again set off. On the 8th of November 1519, the Spanish and their native allies marched down the main causeway to Tenochtitlan. Crossbowmen, gunmen, horses, and war-painted natives streamed up the wooden causeway in a tight formation. Despite all that had occurred, Moctezuma agreed to meet Cortes on the causeway. The Mexica tradition of hospitality could not be broken. On that causeway, an emperor and a conquistador met, and the history of our world changed forever. The Spaniards were given lodgings in a palace that once belonged to Moctezuma's father. Over the next few days, they toured the city, which awed the Spaniards. However, soon they noticed their precarious position and became restless. The Mexica could easily kill them all in their sleep, or cut off any retreat by removing the wooden bridges. The Tlaxcala's distrust only worried the conquistadors more. Soon Cortes found his men in a near panic and wanting to leave. In order to restore faith in the mission, a decision had to be made. Cortes and Moctezuma met on the 14th of November for one of their regular discussions. They had become accustomed to speaking to each other about their respective empires and religions. With him, Cortes brought about 30 armed men, as well as his interpreters. Soon Cortes accused Moctezuma of treason. He said that he was willing to forgive Moctezuma if he accompanied the Spaniards to their lodgings. If he made a noise, however, his captains may kill him. Thus, Moctezuma travelled across Tenochtitlan on a litter carried by his noblemen, several of whom asked if they should fight the Spaniards but were ordered not to, and started ruling his empire as a prisoner. The curiosity of the Mexica turned to resentment, and for the first time they were questioning the actions of their emperor. Meanwhile, Cortes got news that a Spanish ship had been spotted near Veracruz. Panfilo de Narvaez had been sent by Velázquez to kill or capture Cortes. Leaving his least reliable soldiers under the command of Pedro de Alvarado to guard Moctezuma, Cortes set out against de Narvaez. He brought La Malinche with him, which left the Spanish in Tenochtitlan without a translator. The mood in the streets and squares near the Spanish quarters was volatile. The Mexica no longer considered the Spaniards to be guests. The tensions came to a head during the celebration of the Feast of...
I'm guessing, like, the Spaniards, I mean, I don't know, they're not being very grateful, I guess, maybe sitting there, and they might just be very rude guests, I don't know, compared to what maybe, the tribes there are used to, maybe, and they're like, kind of taking and not giving back too much, so the people are like had enough of that kind of thing. Maybe I have no idea. I'm just kind of speculating, but wow, he knows that a ship's coming to take him, basically kill him or take him hostage. So he's got to come up with a plan to make himself look good. And well, I can't believe that the emperor agreed to that. I guess he really didn't have much of a choice, but wow. And I guess a lot of people there, the emperor and a lot of people are kind of they just don't take. I guess the Spaniards, they take them too lightly. They don't really kind of realize, because they don't know like the backstory. They don't realize how much. I don't know how, I guess, focused they are on gaining land and gold and stuff like that, and I guess they kind of take it too lightly. And here we go, man. Let's see how this kind of finishes out here.
Guests. The tensions came to a head during the celebration of the Feast of Tueshkat. In the lead-up to the feast, it seems Alvarado grew more and more paranoid. He captured and tortured citizens to learn about what was going on. The forced answers and bad translations only proved more to him that the people were planning a revolt. The fear of being attacked and sacrificed could no longer be contained.
Yeah.
Alvarado decided to strike first. The day of the festival arrived. Priests made offerings, the music of drums and flutes filled the air, feathered dancers put on magnificent shows, while onlookers watched.
Are they gonna like ambush him right here? Like it just feels like that there's a festival going on, people are, not expecting, and then they're all gonna be contained in this, I guess, maybe town square or something. And if the Spaniards get some cannons, on the corners, on the sides, they can just rip through like all of them, if it's kind of planned right. So, oh man, is that what we're kind of setting up here for? It kind of seems that way. We've seen this before, from the Spanish, and just setting them up for ambushes,
Filled the air. Feathered dancers put on magnificent shows, while onlookers watched and prayed. Alvarado and his troops entered the temple grounds wearing armor. Little attention was paid to them. The Conquistadors slowly moved into strategic locations around the festival goers, while others blocked the exits. Alvarado shouted, "Let them die!" and swords were drawn. Soon 3,000 people lay dead in the temple, and the killing continued in the streets. Most of the Aztec nobility lay dead. Only Moctezuma and a lucky few survived. Madness took the city as the Mexica organized a counterattack.
That's crazy. And like no one understands each other on both sides, so they could easily just walk up there, basically just tell the orders, and where the enemy can hear them. Say, hey, go over here, shoot from that corner, shoot from this, whatever. And the people they're killing have no idea what they're talking about, so they have no reason to kind of worry, I guess. So wow. I mean, you can definitely plan it out to a T and not really have to worry about, bad info getting to the enemy kind of thing.
Madness took the city as the Mexica organized a counterattack. Things settled down only after Alvarado forced Moctezuma to address his people and beg them to stop. The Spaniards hid in their Cortes as the city mourned. Meanwhile, Cortes had won his battle at the coast and absorbed most of the enemy soldiers into his own army.
Wow.
As he entered Tenochtitlan, the city...
I guess I didn't realize that he was going there to fight them. I don't know why I kind of overlooked that. I thought they were just kind of going there to meet up or something, but they went there and fought, and yeah, I guess won over a lot of the soldiers. I mean, I guess if he kills the leader, Cortez kind of kills the other leader, then the other guys have nothing else to do. So hey, let's just join Cortez kind of thing. So I guess that was kind of one of those things.
The enemy soldiers into his own army. As he entered Tenochtitlan, the city was completely silent. Cortes met with Alvarado in their quarters and heard about what had transpired. The Spanish in the city soon found themselves attacked whenever they ventured into the streets. Cortes was surrounded and besieged. The people had rallied behind Moctezuma's brother, Cuitlahuac, who had been planning resistance for some time now. Join us on Sunday for the bloody conclusion in this series, The Siege of Tenochtitlan. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell button.
Awesome. That's going to be cool to see. I think that's the last one for this for the Aztecs. Yes, it is. And the last one for this area that I'm doing. So, wow, that's definitely crazy. I knew the ambush was kind of obvious. I think everyone was, but uh, wow, the whole like Cortes coming over and kind of like taking over, and I guess there was resistance, but I know like the tribes were already kind of had didn't really care for each other, some of them, so they all were trying to kind of like court the Spanish to be on their side, so they didn't nobody wanted to kind of like really attack them, because then you'd have the Spaniards and your enemy on your side, the other clans on against you. So I don't know, but yeah, wow. Wow, I get and then through history, as you see like Europeans come over, to the Americas, they end up kind of the natives, they kind of don't know really what to expect either before it's too late, kind of thing. So you know, ever since basically it's just like just a story that keeps repeating itself apparently. So, anyways, guys, please hit that like and subscribe. Please, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, or maybe other info that they didn't say that about that be kind of cool for me to know. But anyways, guys, like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. I guys have a great day, great night, and I am out of here. Peace. See you guys later.